Hi everyone, here's a setup guide for the Pro Mazda at Snetterton. This was quite a popular video last time and people asked for another one, so I thought I'd give it another go. Now, first as always, you just take a brief look at the track. Now Snetterton has a lot of corners and there's not many straights between them, and the straights are kind of dependent on the corner exit speeders. There's a lot of high speed corners that lead into the straights, so to start with I'll just go with the high downforce setup. The R-Racing high downforce setup, always a good starting point. Let's take some fuel out. You've just got to go get a feel for what the balance is for the first set you try. This will be a bit easier in many regards because we don't have to worry about downforce levels here so much. This will be a track that you run high downforce just due to how many corners there are. There's no benefit here to gaining time down the straights. Not a good idea to go off track like that in your out lap because you want to set the sector times. So this track is kind of defined by the fact that you have to brake in the middle of high speed corners, and you want your setup to be stable in here because you've got to turn in. I'm on the brakes and I don't want to hit the curb that much. Because you've got to brake the car and turn, if you have a setup that's at all a bit twitchy, it's going to be hard. And not only are you going to, you might put together an odd fast lap, but you're not going to have good consistent race pace in my opinion. So we want a fairly supple setup here to start with. Maybe something with a little bit of an understeer bias even. Just lifting a bit, you want to keep it in line through here. You brake late here. Really wrestle the front end into this corner. Bit hesitant on turning there, but you kind of expect that in the default high downforce setup. It's going to have a bit of understeer tuned into it. But it should be stable through this sector. I took it a bit easy through there that time. So honestly, the car feels pretty good, but that's not always the deciding factor. You can have a car that feels good, but if it can't produce the lap times, that's of very little use to you. I just unsettled under braking a little bit through that. I like the spring rates. It feels like I can really lean on the front end of the car, so that's quite good. yeah, just a little bit of high speed understeer. And that's ultimately going to be quite limiting to our lap time.
You've got about 5 laps of fuel left.
A 41.1 nearly straight away is a very good lap time. So I actually think this set can be quite competitive as is. There's not really much need to change it. And this is one of those few tracks in the Star Mazda where you don't really need to chase the front end quite as much. Like usually if you've got understeer, it's just limiting a lap time, but because of the need for stability, here there is an actual benefit to it. Get on that curb on the inside there to open the corner up a bit to kind of remove a bit of the understeer. You don't want to push through too hard through these corners, you can lose a lot of time. It's tempting though. Took a bit too early of an apex there. Too deep. Just a bit off track to end the lap, so that doesn't count. But yeah, a 140.8. It's not going to break any records, but to get there nearly straight away with just the default set, I think means that this setup's, you know, quite a usable set. You're not going to have any trouble. If you're wanting to go faster than this, then you're really just chasing those last couple of tenths. So the predominant feeling with that car was it had quite a bit of understeer in it, which was slowing the rate that I could get on the throttle on entry into the corner. It was starting to push with the front end a bit. But having said that, it actually had quite good support on the front, so I could really throw it in and carry the momentum, and it didn't feel like the front was moving or I was having to correct the car. Now if I make it a bit more pointy at the front, I'm going to lose that rear end stability through those high speed stuff, which I'm not sure is the way you want to go with this car at this track. But that would be the first thing I'd think of if I was trying to chase a bit more lap time. We're already on nearly full downforce, so I'll just try and give the car a bit more point. So how I'll go about doing that is I'll take a clicker rear wing out, and that, just looking at my balance, around 44 is usually correct. The 18 PSI I'm quite happy with here. The tyres felt like they had good high speed stability, but you need them quite low to get through those low speed chicanes. So I've given it a bit more front aero. Now as I've removed rear wing, and that shifts the balance forward, and therefore more forward balance, more front grip. So as before, if you want the car to have more grip at the front, you have to soften the front roll bars. So I'll just take a little bit out of the front. Smaller is softer, larger is harder. And that softening the front anti-roll bars will give the front tyres a bit more grip, which should shift the balance forward a bit. Toe in, -2 is good. A track like this, the more negative toe, the more turn, but I don't want to compromise the braking stability. If I find I'm still locking it up, because the more toe you put on the car, the more the front brakes lock. Now down here, the front ride height's quite high, so maybe just give the car a bit more rake. As before, if you put the front relatively lower compared to the rear, so you either raise the rear or lower the front, that gives the car more turn, as the underfloor generates more grip. Spring rate, I felt the springs were supporting me quite well in the high speed stuff, so that's good. The ARB rocker hole, if I wanted to make the car turn more, I'd set that to slow, but I'm going to leave it as fast again, because I've already changed the front to ARB. Which one of these you change, I'm not entirely sure. Quite a lot of the time I put them both on, slow's softer, but in this instance that's fine. The camber's fine, it's turning quite well. The spring rate at the rear, if I wanted to take a bit of grip off the rear in the lower speed corners, I'd increase the rear spring rate, but I think the balance at the moment is quite okay. And this is honestly sometimes the boredom of setting this car up off the high downforce setups. They're so good naturally that you only have to make a few small changes to get the balance you want. On other tracks that you have to work out the actual amount of downforce that you want to run, it can be a bit more complex. Because here we're just running the car basically full amount of wing on it, then there's really quite less to work out. You've just got to work out the final small points on the balance. So I should immediately find this car is now a little bit more aggressive on its turn in. But there's actually no guarantee that that's going to make it quicker around here, because you need that stability in the high speed under braking, and if the car's moving around under braking, you're in real trouble on this track. I think, as I've said in the forums a few times, even if there are good sets available, it's important to know how to use and tune your own, just to sort of match it to your driving style. You sort of don't want to be at the mercy of other people setting it up to how you like it. And while using other setups can be great, and I do it quite frequently, I do like to just know how to put it together myself if I have to, and what the core functions mean. Turning into this apex quite early, but if you bring the car in from outside, it just unsettles it. So more front end is more turn in that high speed corner straight away. deep on the brakes, that was a driving error. It's not as much better through that high speed right-handed there as I thought it might be. It's still struggling to grip with the front end a bit. Bit understeer. So I'll try and take a later apex through here. Yeah, not a very good line through that last sector, but that's on me. I unsettled the car too much under braking and it was struggling for group and exiters. I had to settle it down again. Still lethargic through that right hand, but I'm not really sure there's much I can do about it.
You've got about 5 laps of fuel left.
That's no good. It's much better through those front first few corners. Actually got the traction down that time as the car was steady. Good turn through there. It has good turning in that apex since I've changed those few settings. But overall, I don't really think the car's drastically improved. I feel like I'm pushing it harder to try and get the speed, but as is often the case doing that, you just go slower. Cornering speed through there, that finally felt like it was hooking up.
You got about 2 laps of fuel left.
And that's our best lap. Which was pretty actually close to putting my best sectors together. So did the car improve? I think it did a little bit. The removing the understeer definitely helped, particularly through the first few corners and getting it into this tight right apex. That was quite challenging. I could definitely feel by moving the balance forward and stiffening the front of the, softening the front of the car a little bit, it definitely helped it get through these high speed corners. The only thing that it lost was a little bit of braking stability. I found it was maybe a little bit harder under brakes to get it stopped. but it didn't really compromise its high speed stability at all. So I would say overall these are a good amount of changes. Now the thing is though, the car feels like it's turning quite well, so what that next step would be, I'm not actually sure. Like, you could of course take a little bit more rear wing off, soften. You have to click garage twice to make it work for some reason. Take a little bit more rear wing off, maybe go down to 11. Soften the AERBs at the front by putting them slow. Maybe even lower the front ride height a little bit just to feel if it improves the car at all. But I think if you go any further forward with the balance, you're starting to get into the territory of it just being unstable. And this track's all about being smooth. You don't want to go into a corner locking your brakes or anything like that, and having to catch the car. The second the car's moving around and it's sort of driving you as opposed to you driving it, you're going to lose a lot of time here. So for most people, I think the stock high downforce setup would be perfectly fine at this track. But if not, then move a few things to move the balance forward, and it still should be quite a good setup.